With so much content out there, how do you filter through all the noise and cut straight to the value? What has become very apparent is that the best way to learn is to surround yourself with those you aspire to be. But you can't just watch what they do. At some point you have to turn it into an action. Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. On this podcast, you will go on a journey as we speak to people who are making the difference in their industries, and people who, if you listen to closely and take action, can turn you into who you want to be. My name is Mark Sclair, and this is the Building a Successful Career podcast. Hi everyone, this is the Mark Sclair podcast where I interview people who are making a difference in their industries, and if you listen too closely, you can get advice to help you build that career that you've always wanted. So on the show today, I have a person called Nick Preston, who's a CEO of a food company in the UK called Musclefood. Do you want to say hello, Nick?
How you doing, guys? You all right? Great to be on the show, Mark.
Perfect, great. So the topic of discussion today is broken into two parts. With the company that Nick is leading as a CEO, they've had the fortune of being very successful what's going on during this downtime. And I think rather than speaking about the struggle of what people are going through with losing jobs, they have the struggle of actually keeping up with the demand that's going on. So I want to speak to Nick about that. But then the second part is actually taking on this leadership role, which he has now as a CEO, and giving advice on that as well. And as you know, this podcast is about giving people advice on rising up the ranks and being successful in their business. So are you ready to discuss all this, Nick?
Ready when you are, Mark. Let's get started.
All right. So do you want to give us a bit of background about the business that you're at Musclefood, first of all, just to give a bit of context, please?
Yeah, sure. So Musclefood's a UK-based healthy online retailer. So we were founded in 2013. We had what could be described as phenomenal growth. So in the space of 4 years, the business went from 0 to £44 million in revenue.
Wow.
That was driven by some very clever marketing strategies. We were one of the early adopters of Facebook marketing strategies, and that served the business very well. And we built up this tribe. We were seen as something fresh. We were seen as innovators. We were ahead of the game. Musclefood, through the last 4 and 5 years, we've created quite unique products. And the ethos of the business was, can we take a dirty product and can we take historically what is a food what's not healthy for you, and can we make that food healthy and enjoyable? Yeah. And if you can create that for a consumer, there's more chance that they're going to stay on a weight loss journey a lot longer, and you'll build up that reward and that lifetime value for that particular customer. So as we sit today, the business is just coming into its 7th year, and we've had quite a few changes, which I'm sure we'll go into shortly.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's about the company, which I really like the idea of, actually, because with this whole fitness thing and these plans and everything, people don't really know what's going on with it, and they think they're on this good diet where they're eating good foods, when really they're not, and they're not educated at all. So from what I understand, you help people with that as well, right?
We do. I mean, we reach out to such a variety of demographic of people. So our typical customer could range from somebody who's looking for, to buy bulk lean meats, which will help them to cut down on the shopping bills, to somebody who's an avid gym goer and has wants to maintain a lean regime, or somebody who's looking to bulk. We can appeal to all demographics, and we're not just stuck to one person's particular goal. And certainly the way which the business is moving now is we still offer the affordable meat hampers, so we're great value and offer the best quality we can, but we're looking more down to what the future gives for us, and that's goal-based plans. People are looking to make a transformation for the better, whether it's for health or personal goals or events coming up. So we're definitely moving down to weight management plans, bulking plans, lean plans to bolt on alongside your healthy shoppers at a good price.
Nice. So we've heard about the company. Now let's hear about the man that is Nick. Do you want to give us a background about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my background, I've been involved. We could talk all day, Mark. So My background historically is in sales. So I've got over 25 years in sales. I'm 46 years old. I've come on the long path. There was no fast track to the top for myself. So I left school at 16-year-old, no qualifications. Didn't even get any GCSEs. I was that obsessed and convinced I was going to be the next big thing at football, that I forgot that I wasn't actually good enough at football to make it. So it was a grounding experience. I've done everything in my time. certainly in my early years from working in factories, warehouses, double glazing sales, knocking on doors in the cold. And I found sales when I was about 18, 19 year old. And something I found was, going into sales at that age was eye-opening. I saw very successful salespeople driving company cars, wearing the smart suits, earning the big paychecks. And all these guys were in the 30s. And I found it quite challenging at first as a raw 18-year-old trying to break into sales to be given any form of credibility. But, I think I was caught by the allure at first of the potential of having a company car and everything, like many young salespeople do. And it soon became quite apparent that you need the gift of the gab as well. You need to be able to talk and communicate. You need that element of confidence. And I stuck it out. I was selling photocopiers for a company called Sharp Electronics. And then I moved to Xerox. And it was at Xerox at the time, who were a big organization, very corporate structure, that I started to see the benefit of sales courses. And I started to perfect the art of selling. And it was knowledge, and whether it's a language or a body or a communication course, I just absorbed as many as I could, and it took me several years, but I stuck by it, and I did very well for myself at Xerox, and I had a burning desire then that once I tasted success, I wanted to taste that success for myself. And in my early 20s, I started looking at setting up my own business. It was around the first time of the dot-com boom. So back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I started trading on computer peripherals, supplying UK businesses and sourcing from abroad. And I was taken by the buzz of having the flexibility of working for myself. And all the time I was learning. I didn't have these qualifications. I had to change my approach, how I communicated, how I acted with people. And that carried on progressing. Fasttrack to 2013, I just completed a project which saw me develop and secure the biodiesel, the green fuels contract for McDonald's UK. I beat some major corporations. It's probably certainly my biggest deal I've ever done in terms of monetary value, £60 million on a 5-year contract. And that was the pinnacle for me in terms of what sales deals I could do. Then what I didn't take into account is that I had all this grease oil coming in from McDonald's, and I was supposed to supply it back into fuel for McDonald's UK, and I didn't have a refinery, so I sold the contract, which again, it's all about selling. I used the initiative. I didn't give the contract back to McDonald's and say find somebody else. I took the contract on and then sold it to a very large UK organisation. And it was at that point when I was sat there thinking, what do I do next? And we just had his first child, and I saw my wife was looking to lose weight, and she was starting to take all forms of supplements, and she was seeing some rapid weight loss, and she started supplying it to friends, as simple as that. And from that came the idea of we could set up a sports nutrition business. I set up a private label sports nutrition business purely because I knew I could sell to people. I was introduced to a guy called Darren Beale, the founder of Musclefood, in 2014. We shared our philosophy on where we saw the sports nutrition market evolving over the years. We were aligned in the vision, and after 2 years, I exited my fledgling business, Brand Nutrition, and it became part of Musclefood. So in 2016, I took a position on the board at Musclefood. Always been a little bit of a gambler, Mark, so I didn't take any money out of Brand Nutrition. I exchanged it for equity in Musclefood because I believed in the vision, what we're looking to create. I sat as commercial director in Musclefood until last July, and due to a few changes, we had a CEO in situ, and it didn't actually work out. His vision wasn't aligned in the thoughts or the direction the shareholders or the owners of the business wanted to go. So I was approached last year to step up as CEO. So that's a brief cap on what I've done in the last 25 years, to be honest.
Yeah, just rounding it up,
Rounding it up for you.
Yeah. I think that will resonate with a lot of people, especially like the jobs that you've said. I hear a lot of people speak about like working in the photocopy industry, actually. So there has to be something that sticks there. And I think as well, you committing to the business without taking any money from it because you believe in it that much, that shows that they can actually, that you back what you're doing as well. And I think a lot of people, we'll find out in the end, but at least you're backing it and doing it. A lot of people, what they do is they the first question I ask is, how much can I take from this company?
Mm.
And it's more about like, what can you give? And then you'll get back with it as well.
You've
And
got
not
to back
everyone
yourself,
does
Mark.
that. Yeah.
In sales or in life, you've got to back yourself, because if you can't back yourself, you're not going to achieve what you want to. And it's not always money. It's about, that fits across so many chapters of his life, whether it's just happiness in your life. You've got to back yourself, and we are going to face challenges through life. It's not just smooth. It's not a fairy tale, and it's how focused you are to achieve those things.
Great. All right. So let's go on now. The first part of it is a company that is performing well in this downtime at the moment, and how you're coping with demand. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. As I said to you, I was made CEO of Musclefood in September. Something I did very quickly was recognise the strength of the team around me, and I'm very thankful and grateful that Musclefood has an incredibly strong senior team who have the experience needed to hopefully take us to this next step. And I moved very quickly, not just to sit here as a CEO, but I recognised the talent in the CFO who Musclefood has recruited, a gentleman called Mark Wasley, who comes from a very corporate background. And I thought that we had some challenges even before we got into COVID. The business hadn't performed too well over the last 2 years. We had to make changes. And when I talk about building this team to put yourself in a better position as a person, I recognise Mark's ability and asked him to be a co-CEO with me and to step up from CFO, which was his role. And Mark accepted that. And something you have to do when you sit in this position is not be fearful of the talent around you.
No.
You need to embrace that talent and to work with these people. So, it's quite a unique role. Not many companies of our size or bigger have a co-CEO role, but we work very well. We're from very different backgrounds. I'm sales and commercial focused. Mark's finance focused. And
it goes well.
because of the challenges what we face as a business, and this is pre-COVID, we knew that we had a lot of work to do. So as you move forward to coming out of the new year and making some changes, we walked into COVID, and it wasn't a case that I was sat here on myself. The business pre-COVID, we saw what was rolling out across China. We saw what was happening coming into Europe, in particularly Italy and Spain. And Musclefood, we moved quickly. On February the 21st, it's fresh in my mind because I was just looking back on the notes today, but February the 21st, we actually formed an internal COVID team of senior members across the business. And they were charged with, in the event that COVID spreads to the UK, how can we protect Musclefood? So we're laying those foundations from day one. We're planning before lockdown, before it had escalated. We were putting a plan in place. And the challenge to the team was, how do our distribution sites, how will they cope and function and continue to operate? How can we protect the teams? Can we possibly get 120 staff to remote work? If so, what tech involvement do we need? How do we do it? And that plan progressed. And long before Boris and the UK government stated that we're going into lockdown from March the 23rd, we moved all our office staff into working remotely on March the 11th. We shut all the offices. So you can imagine, I got a notification probably around the 14th of March saying that we had extraordinary levels of traffic come into site. And that's when the press was starting talking about panic buying and the noise came about lockdown. And we went from a standard 2-day lead time, Mark. Within a week, we were up to 32 days lead time. All his order slots had filled. Wow. And we've got a decent sized distribution center. And I think when you talk about how we coped with COVID, we could have shut the books. You saw at the time in the UK, you saw Ocado, Gusto, HelloFresh, Mindful Chef. Nobody was delivering. You couldn't get a delivery slot for love nor money. So we got the team together, and Musclefood, something we have always done is we've innovated and we've made things work. And I was adamant, I wanted to be the first online retailer in the UK to start up next day deliveries. I wanted to get that message out there. I wanted to beat all the retailers because customers, if you can open that slot up for customers, they remember that. So we worked incredibly hard. We headlined the plan at the end of March. So around week 3 in March, we wanted to utilize some of our other sites across the country. And we pretty much wrote a new checkout created a offer which we knew we could get hold of stock for. It was an online essentials meat hamper, and we made sure we could get delivery slots with our courier service. And from headline to plan to execution, we turned on a next day delivery hamper, which also included a fast track to all the key workers around the country in the NHS.
Okay.
And we created an extra 40,000 order capacity a week going out already on top. I mean, we could have sat back and said, it's great, Musclefood's done 100,000 orders this month, wonderful, and just sat back. But we didn't. That's what we wanted to do as a business. We wanted to do more. We wanted to help, the UK and the public and the key workers. But more importantly, from a commercial point of view, we wanted to prove we could do something which a lot of people thought was impossible.
That's great. That's great. Do you know what? There are companies that are doing well, but you guys are doing it in the right way. Like there's companies out there that have exploited people in regards to hand sanitizers and face masks. So that's why I wanted to get you guys on, because food is massively in demand, and a lot of people might have just, put their prices up and done all these things, but you actually wanted to get to the people, give them the value that they need, and have a solution for them. And like you said, they remember you for that.
Yeah, I mean, we had to put prices up, but we absorbed the cost for as long as we could. Yeah. Until it was proven to almost be detrimental to the business, we did cost absorb. But what was happening, the panic buy-in culture created a false economy. Yeah. I understand the rationale and the logic why people did it, because of fear. So I totally understand consumers doing it. But when it's highlighted in the press as it was, and when it continues to grow and this panic buying, people and suppliers a lot bigger than Musclefood buy at whatever supply they can get. Yeah. And what happens is people start bidding, and it creates a premium for that product. So, our biggest line is chicken. We sold 135,000 tons of chicken in April, a phenomenal amount of chicken. And I would say the vast majority of that we'd absorbed at March's price. Yeah. Then we had to pass it on. And I did see across social media, people did say when we put the prices up, are we trying to create? Are we greedy? Is Musclefood trying to profiteer from it? And that hurt me. It really did hurt me, because if anybody knows Musclefood as a business, last thing we can be accused of is profiteering. In 2016, when Brexit happened, we're the ones what absorbed the cost of the euro going from 142 to 110. We never passed that cost on to the consumer. And we believe in good quality, good value products at the right money. But, I can assure you, yes, we put the price up, but, as soon as our buying team negotiated a better price, we put the price down.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And I think that's testament to the business.
Yeah, great. No, thank you for that. So, like I said, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I've got a little mole in the business who's given me a bit of inside, bit of inside information, really. And like you said, it had been a success at the beginning, and in the last 2 years, it kind of fell off a bit. And that was from this new CEO coming in. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. And then you came in and kind of revitalized it. And I like to use a football analogy for this, because I like
football analogies, Mark. That's good.
I'm a Chelsea fan myself, so I always think
football.
What's that?
I thought you said football.
Oh, here we go. So I always think back to the year when AVB, Andre Vidaboas, came in, and he dropped Drogba, he dropped Frank Lampard, he made all these massive changes, and over time, that's probably what he should have done, but he tries to do such drastic things. And it just didn't work out. There was a whole revolt within the business, and no one was backing him or anything. So he left, and then someone within the team stepped up, and that was Di Matteo. And he took over, and he took pretty much the same team, gave them the positive spin on it, and then he drove them to, was it the FA Cup and the Champions League? That's it, yeah.
Certainly did. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I always like to use that analogy with situations like what I know what you've been through last year or so. So.
It has been an interesting couple of years. I mean, it's well documented. In 2018, through no fault of his own, we got caught up in a meat recall. Musclefood as a business, we had to do a meat recall around the industry in 2018. It was to do with labelling, not product quality. And one of our suppliers had incorrectly labelled something. Now, that happened to multiple companies over that period of time. In February 2018, some of the largest suppliers in the UK but because Musclefood was a B2C facing brand, we ended up on, the Tea Time News. It was recognisable, and that brought on challenges for the business. A business which had rode high for 4 consecutive years was suddenly facing one of its biggest challenges. But what was good is, we call it, it's the Musclefood way. The guys came together, the team united back in 2018. We dug in there and we came through it. The business was recovering well. At the time, in January 19, our founder, Darren Beale, who's one of the most talented marketeers I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and it certainly helped me in my career since I've known him. Darren took a decision to step back from the business. I don't think anybody could fault him. He'd dedicate 5 years to it, working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. He'd managed to get himself in a position where he wanted to take a back seat. And the hunt was on for Darren's replacement. Now, the direction the business wanted to go in was to move us over to be known as a pure play tech business. I totally agree with that. And we brought in a high caliber CEO. The high caliber CEO who came in, a fantastic CV. His achievements were absolutely incredible. And he came with all the best intentions. And, certainly he totally had my backing at the time. I was sat as commercial director, and I was taken in by everything, what he was talking, how he communicated, his confidence. And I took a lot out of that. I think, in all honesty, change is good for any business when you need to go to that next level. I think where the former CEO's crown started to slip slightly was he tried to fast track change, and he tried to make change too quickly. And he took his eye off the ball about what had made Musclefood great and what put us in the position where we were. Some of the hires what we made had a direct negative impact on the culture of the business. So he brought motivation down from people who's put a business into a position very quickly. Then you start pushing changes through with the new hires, with a demotivated team. And unfortunately, there's only one way which it'd go. And we started to suffer in terms of turnover last summer. And at the back end of summer, I was approached by the shareholders in September last year, asking whether I would step in on an interim basis initially. And something the former CEO had done is he'd started recruiting a fantastic team. But this team was still very fresh into the business, so they didn't have the industry knowledge. And, one of my biggest challenges first was they were recruited by a former CEO. How the hell can I get these guys to believe in me, in my position, and will they support me? Will they walk out? Am I taking Musclefood back to day one? So that was the hardest thing we had to do. So in September last year, when I got the position, I sat down with all the leaders, and I knew that we had 80 staff in our Nottingham office in the UK, and I had a very clear plan in my mind, and it was a risky plan. And we talk about taking risks in sales or in life. Now, I knew that I had some incredibly talented new people in the business, but I knew that the vast majority, 90% of the business, was demotivated. They'd been demotivated for 3 or 4 months. And I had a stand-up pre-COVID. We used to get everybody in the office together, and we used to make some noise. And last September, I addressed the whole business. And I had a clear plan in my head that I was going to try and make 90% of the business happy. And then I've got conversations with the 10%. I'd go for the law of averages, as we do in sales.
Yeah.
So I came out to Mr. Brightside by the Killers. I turned the music high, and I wanted a shock and awe to get life back into this business. And we got the heartbeat pumping again in the business. But then straight after that, I'd switch into business mode and talk to these guys who had come in from, corporate backgrounds, some phenomenally successful business. I had to talk to these guys and say, are we going to join? Are we going to do this together? It's not the Nick Preston show. I need your experience. Very fortunate. We've got a CTO who joined us from Phonetics, a guy called Paul Joseph. I think I'd only met him twice, and his CEO's changed. And I'm stood there, who's not exactly the best tech background, saying, are we going to do this, Paul?
Yeah.
So we had that Mark Wasley, the ex-CFO of a furniture company, a sofa company in the UK called Sophology, another phenomenally successful business. I'd met Mark. I'd only known Mark 3 months. The list is endless. Paul Kerwin, who's the CCO of Musclefood now, had joined us from Pure Gym. So Paul, incredibly intelligent. He'd been in the business a week, gone on maternity leave, and I'm in the hot seat. So, when we're talking about a team, you've got to trust each other. And Yeah, at first, I think they all thought, well, we'll see what happens. But as we sit 9 and 10 months on now, we've certainly stabilized the business. We've plugged the holes and we've stopped the leaks. We're looking forward. Has COVID helped us? Undoubtedly. But that's a false dawn. You know, soon COVID will go. We've made significant changes. We put in the best of class into the business where we feel it's needed within our budget. Now, I'm very conscious that we're not just going to add to the bottom line and to the costs. It's got to be a calculated growth over a period of time. And it's so far so good. There's a lot of work to go, though. A hell of a lot of work to carry on with.
From hearing you speak and hearing what you say, I think I have an idea of why they asked you to step up. But what do you think it was? Like they approached you and said, take over this, whether it was short term or long term, whatever. What do you think they saw in you to step up and do that?
I come from a sporting background. So all my life I kicked football around. I played rugby, I played cricket. I've been in and around changing rooms all my life. I know the importance of people being motivated. I'd like to believe I know how to lead people. I know, you know, part of selling is getting people to believe in what you're saying as well. And most importantly, never deliver a false promise. So don't make a false promise to somebody and don't deliver it. Things do change which are outside your control sometimes, but you know, I have a very good relationship with the founders and the directors and the shareholders. And I think what they did see in me was, you know, I live on high motivation. Even when it's down, even when we have a challenge, I'll look for an opportunity to turn it into a positive. And I think they saw that was needed in the business at the time, you know, to have such a demotivated staff. If people could reach out and see somebody as a leader or as that figure, which will get in there and roll the sleeves up and work the long hours with them, then they could have somebody to trust.
Yeah.
And if we build that foundation again, then you can do anything together as a team. And, you know, I think there'd always be question marks. It's my first role as CEO. I'm the right CEO if Musclefood turns into a £500 million business. I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm sure that questions will be raised. All I know is I value every £1 as £10. Every pound I spend is £10 to me. Okay. And we went through quite a frivolous area last year where we spent a hell of a lot of money. And something I know the shareholders will believe in when I say it is that I look after the pennies.
Yeah.
You know, I won't spend unnecessarily in this business. I would always look to save money. You know, the commercial experience I've gained now over this period of time, I look for opportunities. And just because Musclefood's doing well now, I would still look to see how we can become more efficient as a business.
Yeah.
And by having, you know, my co-CEO now, Mark, with his financial experience, I like to be the creative one. So I like to come out with 10, 12 ideas, you know, identifying what future market trends are. And Mark can quickly tell me, out of those 10 ideas I've come up with, 5 will be absolutely ridiculous, Nick. 3's not for now, but let's try these 2. And it's that trust side.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't sit here and say, I'm some sort of genius in Musclefood. I work incredibly hard to get where I've got today. I'm going to enjoy the ride. And I believe with the team around us now, we can take it to that next level.
Yeah, I think people seem to forget that putting in a good shift can make all the difference. And I think and this is what happened. I had an internal promotion at a company I worked at a few years ago. And I literally got on the floor with the guys. And once they saw that I was willing to put in the hours like you were there, they were like, well, if he's doing it, I want to do it as well. And it was all working together in one lane to get it achieved.
There's no point being a busy fool, but I think to lead by example, there isn't one job in this business. We've got around 23 departments ranging from, you know, the people who've done such an incredible job during COVID and during the challenges what we faced. People who are going into the warehouses and picking and packing for us, you know, day in, day out, not missing a shift, working extra hours, working the overtime, working 7 days a week in some cases, not because we're telling them to, because those guys want to, because they believe in Musclefood. And I think also many people will understand that I'm prepared to do that. Not to be a busy fool, but if we were short, I'd go and pick boxes in the warehouse because I've done that in my life. And I think, you know, you have to lead by example. If you lead by example, then that takes you a long way, definitely.
Nice. Thank you for that. So let's look to the future now. And the next 6 to 12 months, how do you see it going and how are you guys preparing for that?
Yeah, I mean, so since September, we've been planning When we talk about this world and the online healthy grocer and sports nutrition and the industry in general, take away COVID for the moment.
Yeah.
The way it works on a calendar year for this industry is January, February, and March. People are on that. They want to lose weight. It's the biggest health kick. It's boom time for the industry. Businesses can make or break their year by getting it either right or wrong in that quarterly period. Then what you'll tend to find is it does lull off a little bit in April and May, but people are concentrating then on the summer holidays. They're wanting to look good and feel good. Beachbody Ready has been used for years now, but people are moving into that mindset. Now, outside COVID, what usually happens is in June, July, August, we have a very quiet period, and you've got to fight for every ounce of business. Now, by September, October time, then people are thinking, they're not thinking about training, they're thinking about putting a few extra pounds on in the winter months, they're bulking up, they want to eat the Christmas dinners, they want to celebrate, they want a few drinks, so we go quiet towards that end. What we've seen with COVID, we've seen an incredible start to our financial year, so April and May and June, incredibly strong first quarter. Yeah. The challenge we need for the business now, it's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security. It's easier to think, aren't we great? Just this morning, I addressed the business to say, one thing I don't want to do is have regrets when it comes to the end of our financial year next April. I don't want anybody to be turned around and say Musclefood's achieved growth this year purely because of COVID. Yeah. Now, I want to treat the next quarter, which is our quarter two. So I want to be treating July, August, September with no COVID in the equation. And I want to be challenging the trading team. We've recruited well. So, our heads of departments, we've brought in a lot of new faces, some good experience. We've bolstered up the social media team. We've got a new buying team in, which Elliot, your cousin, is heading up for us. They're the areas of the business I want to focus on. And I want everybody to forget about the achievements we've made in the first quarter, because we'll be judged on what we do today, what we do tomorrow, and what we do for the rest of this year. Nice. So it's very much a grounding experience. And it's, I acknowledge the past, but don't dwell on it, because that'll get you nowhere. It's what we do tomorrow, what defines how we'll be judged in the future. The focus is all about retaining these customers, what we got through COVID. We've got a rebrand happening. We've got a replatforming happening across the website. Significant several figure investment we've made on replatforming the Musclefood website.
Amazing.
Plans on subscription models. And we're taking the brand live. We're going to get into the brand into the hands of consumers. We're moving into UK retail this year as well. Some real exciting plans, which should help support the growth of Musclefood over certainly the next 36 months.
It sounds like you're doing the investment in a world downtime, supposedly, but this is when it's going to make the difference. This is when companies be smart and invest in the right places we're doing, which is the platform, like you're saying.
It's amazing how much interest we've had over the last 3 or 4 months. I mean, we're very fortunate. We're already backed by a successful investment business based out of London, and they saw the potential of this new team coming together. And I think it's testament to the work that the senior team and all the business has done over the last 9 months, that the investment house has the confidence to back us to re-platform the business. Yeah. And that will ultimately move into making Musclefood a tech-driven business. And once we do that, and it's all about the end-to-end customer journey. If it puts a smile on a customer's face when the Musclefood box arrives, they open that box and the product quality is good, the branding's on point. When they see our images across social media, what you see is what you get. Any trouble, you've got a state-of-the-art CS team, and that's all delivered on a tech-backed platform. So you put all that together, I think that will drive organic growth for Musclefood, and certainly take us to that next level, which we're all aiming to do.
Sounds great. Are you guys looking to do anything in the Middle East?
Yeah, always open to it. So when I had the pleasure of visiting Gulf Foods, the big trade show, it's back in 2015, I was there, but I saw the appetite and the desire for healthy eating out there. A lot of our produce is fresh. So in the Middle East, and no, I couldn't. But do I think that the products Musclefood has would be received well in Pennies and other stores across the Middle East? Yeah, I think undoubtedly. I'd love to get the bars out into the Middle East. I'd love to get the Musclefood brand out there.
Yeah.
I think it would do well. I think it'd be great. We've still got, we still innovate. We've still got some unique products, which I think would be received very well out there.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, to round this off, thank you very much for your time, Nick. Is there anything that I haven't asked which I should have asked to you?
No, as I told you, I'm a typical Yorkshire bloke. So, I'm an open book. I tend to waffle on a little bit, Mark, but, I have a very serious message about business, but I don't take myself too serious. I think you've covered it quite comprehensive. Commiserations on your choice of football team, obviously, but,
What team are you then?
I'm even better. I'm Rotherham United, so we've just got promotion to the Championship. So
congratulations!
But I'm a 70s boy, so if I did have a team, it would be Liverpool, not just because they've won the title now.
Yeah.
I remember the days of Ian Rush and Kenny Dalglish very well. So, but I do have a soft spot for Liverpool. But my boyhood club, my hometown club is Rotherham United. So yeah.
Like, you can't help who you support when you're younger and you're stuck with them after that, aren't you? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, it's your first kit you wear, Mark. Yeah. But no, it's been great. Thanks for having me on.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, Nick. Take care and good luck with everything going on. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Mark. Cheers. Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for listening and watching, guys. I hope there were some real gems that you get inspired by and take action with. Within the description, I tried to mention everything that's been spoken about, but on a daily basis, I put out content to inspire and help others. To see more, please like, subscribe and follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast. Search by the name Mark Sclair. Thank you very much again, and I hope you enjoy the journey.